Hey there, Gold Derby. This is Charles Bright recording my entry for the Oscar contest, for the Oscar predictions contest. As you can see, I'm hanging out with my boy Oscar here. This is the poster for the 72nd Academy Awards, which occurred in 2000, and American Beauty swept the awards, as it should have. Anybody who disagrees with me, well, I guess you're wrong. Um, so I wanted to focus on just a couple of categories here. What are those real head scratchers that are coming up at this year's Oscars? I mean, by now we realize that Argo is going to win Best Picture, most likely. Daniel Day-Lewis has Best Actor in the bag. Um, Anne Hathaway for Les Mis for supporting actress, and while there are so many interesting components to the Best Actress race, it's probably going to be Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings Playbook. So let's take a look at some of these interesting categories of what could really just provide an upset, because there really isn't a real front runner. So the first one we're going to do is directing. It's not director, it's achievement in the field of directing. That's one of my real pet peeves, because you're honoring the work they did for a particular film. But enough of my idiosyncrasies. Um, our nominees are, of course, Amour, directed by Michael Haneke; Beasts of the Southern Wild, directed by Ben Zeitlin; Life of Pi, directed by Ang Lee; Lincoln, directed by Steven Spielberg; and Silver Linings Playbook, directed by David O. Russell. Um, the one factor this all comes down to, of course, is Spielberg and how much uh, there there's this sort of feeling against him. Like either there's just bias against him just because they don't like him, or feeling of, you know what, he's won two directing Oscars already. And yes, you could talk about the being robbed for Best Picture for Shakespeare in Love, but it's not like he should be due for that. Like he needs to win an award in order to remedy that. It doesn't really feel necessary. And for most of the people I'm talking to, I always hear that they're underwhelmed by Lincoln, and that's the word I always was looking for, and I couldn't put a my finger on it. I couldn't put my finger on that word, underwhelmed, and I just couldn't see it. And that's how a lot of people are feeling about Lincoln. It seems like most branches of the Academy are nominating it, and because it was one of the best. It was a really well made movie, one of the best in each of those branches, but it just feels like it's being nominated because it should be. There's no real passion behind it. So, it, you know, are people just. It does. You wonder if it's going to be. Is it going to be Spielberg just because of. It's just going to be Spielberg because there's no other obvious choice. Well, there is another obvious choice, and that, of course, is Ang Lee for Life of Pi. Beautifully directed movie, really did well with the nominations, 11 nominations, mostly in the technical field. So you would think that it would definitely pose a threat. I think it will win. That's my prediction. I'm going out on the line for Ang Lee for Life of Pi. It's beautifully directed. It's something that a lot of people never thought would be able to be put on screen, and he did it masterfully. And as for the others, Michael Haneke, Ben Zeitlin, and David O. Russell. David O. Russell, I don't think is going to be winning over any fans after his reaction to Jennifer Lawrence losing Best Actress at BAFTA, which was hilarious. I loved that moment. I loved it. It was so just genuine and wonderful. And then there's Michael Haneke, who's definitely very revered international filmmaker, and Ben Zeitlin, who did this amazing job on his first film, and he's my age, which just he directed it while he was my age, and that just makes my life feel worthless. But I do think that I don't think that any of them really have the momentum to succeed. Not even Hanukkah. He could pull it off an original screenplay, but we'll get to that one later. So, best director, I'm going with Ang Lee for Life of Pi. Plus, I had a dream about it. So, I literally had a dream where somehow someone nabbed the best director envelope, gave it to me, and I got to hold a press conference after the Oscars where I got to announce the best director, or the best. I'm doing it now. Best achievement in directing Oscar, and I got to open up the envelope, and inside it said Ang Lee, Life of Pi. It could have very well have said whoever the director was for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, but it ended up being one of the nominees. So I'm gonna go with it. And if I'm wrong, then I'm a kook, I'm a quack, and if I'm right, clairvoyant. I do want to also talk about Best Supporting Actor. I mean, that's been probably the biggest head scratcher of them all. Our nominees: Alan Arkin for Argo, Robert De Niro for Silver Linings Playbook, Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master, Tommy Lee Jones for Lincoln, and Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained. You know, Hoffman wins the Critics' Choice Award. Christoph Waltz for Django wins the Golden Globe, and now he's won BAFTA. De Niro is a veteran who's coming back and making this triumphant return to awards season, and Tommy Lee Jones has won several Critics Awards as well as the SAG Awards. So really, this award's just been all over the map. It's a very tough one to predict. I definitely see this as going between Tommy Lee Jones and Christoph Waltz. I know Tom likes to talk about how, oh well, they had wins for both Michael Caine and Diane Weiss, not too far apart from each other, but it's not exactly the same as Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz only won 3 years ago. The space between Michael Caine's 2 Oscars was 13 years, between 1986 and 1999, when he won for Hannah and Her Sisters and then Cider House Rules. Diane Wiest had an 8-year gap between Hannah and Her Sisters in 1986 and Bullets Over Broadway in 1994. So it's a lot more to give it. It seems a lot more sudden to give it to him after only 3 years, and yes, it's in another Quentin Tarantino movie. But he does steal the show. He really does. He's just fantastic in that movie, and I do think there's enough. He's something that's still kind of new in Hollywood. They still really like that. And, with Tommy Lee Jones, it still feels kind of been there, done that. But then again, with all these nominees, they've been there, done that, since they've all won before. It's one that I'm completely going back and forth on. I was just about until 2 days ago saying Christoph Waltz is going to win, but now I'm kind of thinking Tommy Lee Jones, and I'm going back and forth on this so much that I'm flip-flopping more of the shoe with the same damn name. It's crazy. I kind of think that, Tommy Lee Jones definitely could. I don't think the Golden Globes, I thought the Golden Globes, his look at the Golden Globes might hurt him. It's obvious that it's not, that I don't think it's going to hurt him. But I kind of think, I really do think that Christoph Waltz has what it takes to beat him. But I will say I'm going to give a slight edge to Tommy Lee Jones. I didn't think this is a recent mind change about 2 days ago. Not because of a dream, but logic. So, but I do think Tommy Lee Jones has what it takes to possibly win this. So I'm going to go with him and watch me be wrong on Oscar night. If whoever I pick will probably be wrong. And then comes original screenplay. Or actually, let's do adapted screenplay first. You have Chris Terrio for Argo, Lucy Alibar and Ben Zeitlin for Beasts of the Southern Wild, David McGee for Life of Pi, Tony Kushner for Lincoln, and David O. Russell for Silver Linings Playbook. A lot of people are talking about Lincoln, and it's Tony Kushner is this amazing writer who does this beautiful job. The way he writes is just an amazing style. It really is. And I've talked with some people who say, Tony Kushner is all full of himself and he thinks he's better than everybody else. Well, he kind of is in terms of his writing ability. Lincoln is this magnificent screenplay. He also wrote Angels in America, of course, for which he won Tonys and Emmys for, and it really is a wonderfully written movie. But you also have Argo here, which is coming on a huge bit of momentum for Best Picture. There's kind of this feeling like maybe it could win. It is a nicely written script and very well done, but it just seems like Lincoln's the natural one here. But there could be several upsets. It could be Argo. You could see the Academy going, we let's give this to David O. Russell for Silver Linings Playbook, since we're probably not gonna award him in director. Let's give him this for the adapted screenplay. It's definitely a possibility. I say though, Lincoln's probably got this one. We're probably making too big of a deal on it, and we could see an upset here, as we could in any category. But I do think Lincoln will ultimately pull this one out, as it's basically everybody's been predicting. And now, the real head scratcher for this year's Oscars, the one that's really puzzling for me, original screenplay. You have Michael Haneke for Amour. You have Quentin Tarantino for Django Unchained, John Gaddens for Flight, Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola for Moonrise Kingdom, and Mark Bowl for Zero Dark 30. I can honestly see literally any of those winning because most of the attention from the critics awards, since they usually don't separate them into original and adapted, they just have a best screenplay award. Most of that attention has gone to films that have adapted screenplays. Here, with original screenplay, we really have a wide open field. You really have a wide open field. Now, a lot of people thought that Zero Dark 30 coming into this derby would probably be the front runner, but the way it underwhelmed with the nominations definitely feels like there's not as much love for it. There definitely wasn't as much love for it as we thought, and could this hurt it in the original screenplay category? And my guess is absolutely it could. I just don't. I mean, it would seem to be the logical choice, but then you have Quentin Tarantino for Django Unchained, which won the Golden Globe and most recently won at BAFTA. Definitely helps it there that people are seeing it now. It can't win the Writers Guild Award because, of course, it was not eligible as it didn't obey Writers Guild standards. So we have this whole dynamic going on between those two. But then you have these other three. You have Amour and Moonrise Kingdom and Flight. I think Flight is just kind of out of it. Doesn't really have passion or momentum going for it. Moonrise Kingdom has a lot of passion for it. You've heard several people here. Boomer, Chris Beecham has definitely said that it was one of his favorite. I think it was his favorite movie of the year, and a lot of people just really like the movie. Wes Anderson is a writer who you could make a very good case for is due. You know, he wasn't nominated for anything for Rushmore. Did get nominated for Royal Tenenbaums, and hasn't been nominated, but he is a consistent filmmaker with a serious base of support. So him, and you also have his co-writer Roman Coppola, who's a member of that family dynasty. So it seems inevitable that Roman will, given the track record of the Coppolas, he'll probably win at some point. And we just don't know. There might be a situation where the votes may split with all over, so that Moonrise Kingdom comes out with enough votes to actually claim the prize. It could happen, and I think it's not too far out a thing to say it could happen. There's been a lot of talk about Amour possibly winning this because people are saying, oh, well, they want to give Michael Haneke something, so they'll give him original screenplay. I think it does bode mentioning that if Amour wins the foreign film Oscar, Haneke will accept it, but he will not get the statuette. The statuette will go to the organization in Austria that submitted Amour as its official entry for foreign language film, and they decide what to do with it. So even if Amour wins that, technically Haneke will not be the recipient. So this could be the place where they reward him, but it usually, if a foreign film wins this category, it's because it's lacking in another category. You have the most recent example, of course, was in 2002 when Pedro Almodovar won for Talk to Her. Talk to Her had been egregiously not submitted by the Spanish Film Academy. They went instead with a movie with Javier Bardem called Mondays in the Sun. And there was a huge outcry because many people thought not only was Talk to Her one of the best movies of the year, they thought it was the best movie of the year. And there was this huge, amount of disdain that Spain did not submit it for foreign language film, and that's how Almodovar broke through in the writing and the directing categories, and that's how he won. And you also factor in, it's a beautiful movie. It's a great movie and beautifully well written, like almost anything that Almodovar does. So, but with Amour, it is nominated, and it's also nominated for Best Picture. No foreign film that's been nominated for Best Picture has ever won a writing award. No foreign film that's never happened before, or it may have happened once, but it was an adapted screenplay. I may be but it lost out in the foreign film category. I may be wrong about that. So there's it could win, but the factors in terms of the history of foreign films in the writing categories are definitely against it. So I wouldn't put too much money on Michael Haneke, which of course just leaves our other two, Mark Bowl for Zero Dark 30 and Quentin Tarantino for Django Unchained. I'm going with Tarantino, even though I think he should have won for Inglourious Bastards, and I would be fine with the guy who beat him, Mark Bowl, winning this time. It's definitely for me. I think it's going to be Django. I think Quentin Tarantino is going to come out on top of that with his second writing Oscar. So that's. I'm going to stop rambling now. That's my little piece for the Oscar predictions contest. I'll also be working on my Oscar acceptance speech. I've been working on that since I was 8, so hopefully I'll say something good. And thanks, Tom, for starting this contest, and everybody at Gold Derby who's been helping out with this. It's an honor to write for you guys, and I'll hopefully see you around. Bye.